after the silence lay the spire. She became gravely ill and were on the brink of death, yet stubbornly endured for 1,000 years until the tower reopened. The Ironclad completely fell into becoming a puppet of the demon, while only the Defect continued searching for itself and exploring the world. Though they all share the name Ancients, many of the powerful Ancients beings want to slay the Spire our boss the Architect, who already appeared in the first game's lore. Hello everyone, dear viewers, I am Mr. Nobody. Slay the Spire 2 is a highly anticipated sequel to Slay the Spire, expanding on the original's unique blend of strategic card gameplay and mysterious, ever-evolving storytelling. Set centuries after the fall of the Spire's corrupted heart, the world has been reshaped, yet the tower still stands, calling new challengers to climb its dangerous heights. In this sequel, players once again build powerful decks, make critical choices, and face unpredictable encounters, but now within a richer and more defined narrative. Ancient forces stir within Spire, long-forgotten beings awaken, and the truth behind the Architect and the origins of the world begins to unfold. Now, with the sequel, the timeline and background are much clearer. After clearing the game, we can obtain many historical nodes about the lore. So, based on the sequel's information, it'll connect the existing historical nodes, details, and elements related to the first game, and tell you the story and world building of Slay the Spire. Since relic descriptions, some historical nodes, and the ending are still awaiting updates in the full release, he'll likely reorganize everything again when the official version comes out. When talking about Slay the Spire 2's historical nodes, we must thank a watcher. Comes from an organization responsible for observation and recording. Purple eye symbol represents the watcher's power. The historical records in the game are all sealed by these purple eyes, suggesting that these nodes are likely recorded by the watcher. According to these records, the world first emerged from nothingness, and it churned about and molded itself to that which tells stories. Then, everything in the universe came into existence, through the world's imagination, as if the world were narrating them into being. Along this journey, a great story about Spire took place in a planet named Prion. On this quiet planet, beasts of imagination began to dot the world. They roam the lands in this time of simple, gleeful violence. Countless ways to kill, to feed, and proliferate are suggested. Colonies, hives, groups, and schools ebb and flow into the nooks and crannies of Prion. Too many beasts of imagination began to populate Prion and creating chaos and disorder. Their actions lack logic, making the world's story impossible to continue. So, the world imagined a new entity, one with imagination and will to create, destroy, and control these chaotic beasts. The Architect. The Architect, enamored by the growth and stability of flora and fauna, the Architect spends decades researching and refining them. Eventually, it created the ancient seeds. However, the seeds turned out to be failures. The mistakes and warp, placed in a heavy coffer and hurled into the ocean's depths. But the seeds spread across the sea and took root in different places, growing into various ancient trees. Each tree was shaped by its surrounding environment. When the tree matured, it gave birth to an ancient, an embodiment of that tree, each possessing immense power. One of the many ancients, Neow, grew jealous of the inspiring will of the Architect. She confided with a like-minded sibling, and together they created a most potent concoction, the Blight. When the Architect visited Neow ancient trees, Neow presented the Architect with a potent tea poisoned with the Blight. The Blight takes hold of the comatose Architect and its poison amplifies. It forms a symbiotic relationship with Neow's tree and it hungered to grow and grow. The other ancients capture the culprit as the Blight ravages the land. They imprison Neow and take shelter from the now unstoppable Blight. This catastrophe affected everything, even fruits became forgotten relics. The ancient tree's roots, no longer able to draw nourishment from pre-on and began to wither and die. Even Neow's tree loses its branches and lush foliage. The last tree is no tree at all. They give it a name, the Spire. The tower we climb in the games is actually Neow ancient trees. After the tower became the source of the blight, the architect was sealed away and Neow imprisoned. Challengers from all around the world came to the tower seeking to destroy the corrupted heart and kill the tower itself to stop the blight. Among them, the Ironclad had once made a deal with the first demon Waku, ancient being. The Ironclad Legion tribe was locked in endless war with other local tribes. Valley God. The Ironclad originally sought to gain great power through a demonic pact in order to defeat the Valley God, but he never expected that the power he gained from the demonic pact would also drive him to slaughter every member of Ironclad. This became the Ironlast's lifelong nightmare, causing him to lose all rationality, turning him into a demon's puppet. Driven by pure instinct and cursed blood, he went to kill the tower under the influence of the demon Waku. The Silent is a member of Nemesis, one of the long-lived. They take pride in hunting powerful prey. The skull on the Silent's head came from the tormented souls stalk around the Foglands. Her journey to the tower was likewise for the sake of a hunt, to prove herself to her sisters. The Defect, meanwhile, suffered damage to its core, fell into long-term confusion and malfunction. It was at that time that Neow found it, giving it rebirth and the goal of climbing the tower. The Watcher came to find a missing colleague, and to assess the tower. By the end of the first game, all four of them succeeded in killing the tower's heart. Among them, the Ironclad had the greatest impact. After striking down the corrupted heart, the demon's contract absorbed the blight unto itself. From that moment on, it siphoned away the tower's source of the blight. This was likely the demon plan. Perhaps the demon meant to absorb the blight and then control the last ancient tree. In any case, the fusion of demonic contract and blight ignited endless purple flame at the top of the tower. As that purple flame burned, the entire world underwent enormous change. With the blight no longer devouring everything, the tower, its summit ablaze in purple fire, began to release energy into its surroundings. Fine rain began to water the land again. Sunlight broke through cracks in the heavy clouds. The world's environment started to return to normal. As the last remaining ancient tree, the tower became a destination for pilgrimage. Countless societies and cultures from across the world came to it, and it came to be called the trading hub of the world. The purple flame burned for 1,000 years after the corrupted heart was slain. That means the Ironclad either was tormented to death and later revived, or he burned at the top of the tower for 1,000 years. At the same time, the architect gradually awakened from a long slumber. Everything around him was unfamiliar, and he was no longer who he once was. Afterward, the capital where the tower stood was struck by a torrential rainstorm that lasted 12 days. The raging thunderstorm seemed to suggest that something earth-shattering was happening atop the tower. And after those 12 days, the purple flame of the demonic contract disappeared. The tower opened its gates once again and reopened to the outside world. And for anyone who has cleared the sequel, we know what this means. The architect regained control of the tower. He likely fought or struggled for control at the tower's summit against the demon who had contracted with the Ironclad, along with the blight that had been absorbed. In the end, he split open Demon Face, causing the demon plan to rule the tower to fail. That's why the demon once again drove the Ironclad, using him as a puppet to begin climbing the tower again in an attempt to kill the architect. Meanwhile, Neow also awakened from her slumber at the bottom of the tower and began resurrecting challengers who climbed the tower. As before, Neow would bless the challenger and use them to achieve its own goals. Those resurrected by Neow could only recall fragments of their past lives' memories. They were cursed to fight forever to climb to the tower's summit and kill the architect. With the tower reopened, the ancient no longer hid away. One by one, they set out for the tower. Their own ancient tree had withered, so they needed to come here to receive the spire's blessing. This is also why we can encounter ancient during the climb. So, aside from the Ironclad, why did the other characters in the sequel climb the tower? Why did they seek the architect? The Silent, after the tower climb, took a shard from the corrupted heart, intending to bring it home as a trophy for her sisters. But that shard still carried the blight, and holding it infected the Silent. The Silent would soon die. Fortunately, the blight in the Silent would not spread to others. It only affected the Silent own body. However, we should note that soon is in the context of the Silent's long-lived race. Looking at the timeline, the Silent killed the corrupted heart and then survived, infected by the blight for 1,000 years, holding out until news came that the tower had reopened. Only then did the Silent set out for the capital. Partly, perhaps, to cure the blight and partly to hunt even bigger, stronger prey, so the Silent climbing the tower to challenge the architect. Next comes the cutest little mecha, the Defect. After killing the corrupted heart, it detected that it had sustained too much damage. So it went to a scrapyard to search for discarded parts and modules to repair itself. After repairing itself, its fate in the scrapyard pondered its fate and purpose. After gaining self-awareness and completing the mission it had traveled with, it still had to figure out its next fate and purpose in life. It was at that time that it met another construct in the scrapyard. Similar in model and also suffering from process issues. It seemed to have its own consciousness as well, and was called the Flaw. The two quickly became friends. They returned to the tower only to run into a swarm of pests. So the two robots took extermination as a new mission, working together to eliminate the insects in the tower. Eventually they encountered the source of the worst bugs. A toxic wasp colony residing in triangular nests. The wasps were too strong and too numerous. Even after exhausting all their energy, the two small robots couldn't win. In the end, they may have self-destructed. In any case, both robots lost consciousness. When the Defect was resurrected by Neow, it found itself surrounded by a wreckage of molten metal, ash, and thousands of dead bugs. Most of its data was damaged. Its friend was broken too. It could only scavenge broken panels and pieces from other constructs to patch itself together. Neow told it that the architect who created it was at the top of the tower. So, in order to repair itself and to repair its friend, the Defect pressed onward again and again toward the top of the tower. After the tower reopened, the monsters have been pouring out of the Spire. The capital gathers the most brilliant, formidable, and courageous from all the lands. 12 explorers formed an expedition and advanced inside to make history. This expedition suffered a high casualty rate in the tower, yet a few still survived. 2 of them even became lovers, falling in love inside the tower and having a child. The Necrobinder. One day, while the child was playing inside the tower, she met a benevolent giant and became friends with him. The giant promised to take them to the top of the spire to meet his brother, the architect. The giant was gentle and steady, so the entire expedition followed him to the summit, where they found the architect. But who would have expected it? The architect treated the giant and the expedition as intruders and killed them all. Only the little girl escaped. She witnessed her benevolent giant friend along with her parents being slaughtered by the architect. She wandered within the tower for a long time, seeking to accumulate power for revenge. Eventually she found a forbidden grimoire and gains the understandings of life and death. But at a cost. Her skin, hair, and organs rapidly rot away as her soul is forcefully bound into the locket in her pocket. The Necrobinder? Resurrect a giant hand using the power she gained, which is very likely the hand of that giant friend she met when she was still a little girl. Again and again, she climbed the tower with the giant friend, seeking revenge against the architect. Demands the restoration of the giant, her parents, her humanity. The Regent's story is the simplest. He has no worries about food or shelter, is immortal and lives in peace. But because he found it all too boring, he flew a spaceship around looking for excitement. In the end, he chose Prion, an anomalous planet. Before landing, he even attempted to make friends, virtually. But soon he found out that their taste was terrible. He demoted them into minion. After arriving on Prion, he heard that monsters worked constantly trickle out of the Spire. So he decided to become humanity hero and enter the Spire to investigate. After encountering the architect at the top and being defeated, his refusal to accept loss drove him to challenge the architect again and again, which making him the most straightforward and most arrogant challenger of all. The above is the story we can currently analyze from the game. As for what comes next, I suspect the game may develop toward a happy ending. Because when the architect first appeared, it was as a symbol of rational world order. Considering that all the protagonists have their own problems, perhaps in the end the architect will become someone who helps them solve those problems. But we'll have to wait for updates to the full release to know for sure. And I hope everyone will like and support it. Thank you for watching this far. If you want to receive follow-up update notifications as soon as possible, you can subscribe to my channel. Bye-bye.